There's been a lot of presidents. Some have been good, some have been bad. These are some weird things that some of them have done. Welcome back to Bumblebee. Here are the top 10 weirdest things that US presidents have done. Kicking off the list at number 10, hot for teacher. Millard Fillmore, for one, looks strikingly similar to Alec Baldwin, but aside from that, he was also the 13th president of the United States of America. He became president in 1850 after Zachary Taylor passed away in an odd, tragic way, but I'll save that one for last. But Fillmore, this man had a thing for his teacher. Yeah, it's kind of a no-no, right? They were a couple years apart. Her name was Abigail Powers. And then the Miller Center of Public Affairs recalls that Miss Powers would often loan him books and encourage him to be on top of his studies. Come 1819, he proposed to her and she gladly accepted it. He was one of the only presidents who didn't have a vice president. Also important to note that he was not a great president in any means, historically. We're talking about these weird things on this list. I don't mean like awful decisions they made historically. I mean like this dude hooked up with his teacher when he was 19. We'll say that's weird for this video. That tidbit of information is strange, but as a whole, yeah, a lot of these guys absolutely sucked. Number 9, Daily Dip. As recorded in his diary from 1818, John Quincy Adams, the 6th president of the United States, loved to skinny dip. Yeah, this guy was part of Marky Mark Wahlberg's 4 a.m. workout club, I swear to God. In his diary, he would wake up every morning at 4 a.m., walk 2 miles to the Potomac River, get butt-ass naked, and then take a nice little dip. He would do some frog kicks totally naked, do some butterflies, the whole thing, just a nice workout all alone. And then he would walk home, I would assume / hope clothed. He was well educated, and on his off time he would read and skinny dip. Honestly, maybe that's the secret to life. Just grab Goblet of Fire and then take a new dip. That's it, you're feeling refreshed in 4 hours or less. 10 points to Gryffindor, hit that thumbs up. Let's move on. Number 8, tilted head. I don't think this is weird by any means, but it's too interesting to leave out. James Buchanan, the 15th president of the United States, he always had a head tilt in every portrait, and even in his daily activities, when he would talk to you, he would always tilt his head. He always looked interested. He did like that Larry David kind of, interesting, but he kept it in one spot. He looked engaged in the conversation, but he had the headshot attitude going even back in the 1800s. He would just cock, tilt, boom, eyebrow up all the time, always judging you. Well, it was believed by historians that he did this because he had a defect in one of his eyes. Maybe he wasn't paying attention at all during those conversations because maybe he had a headache that entire time. Today we believe he suffered from exodeviation, which is a wandering eye. Number 7, a baker's dozen. When we think of John F. Kennedy, the 35th president of the United States, and anything weird or scandalous that happened around him, obviously we're thinking of the whole Marilyn Monroe thing. The guy had more than one affair though. He had at least 13, maybe even more. Judith Exner was introduced to John F. Kennedy by Frank Sinatra. Yeah, it's not a bad introduction. At that time, Kennedy was hanging out with the Rat Pack. Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Exner was first to come forward and say that Kennedy wasn't that great of a guy, so pretty big deal. The Kennedy administration worked with mobsters during Operation Mongoose, and Exner at one point claimed that she was pregnant with his child. He was also at one point seeing a Soviet spy while he was working in the Navy. Her name was Ingrid Arvad. But his father told him to call it off because it would impact his political future. He also hooked up with a 19-year-old Mimi Alford, who at the time was a White House intern. That affair lasted 18 months, and perhaps the most interesting affair here was with Mary Pinchot Meyer. She was the ex-wife of one CIA agent. For one, is red flag city. I would not date anybody who's close to the CIA, father, husband, brother. Nope, I'm all set. But sadly, she was shot and killed in mysterious circumstances in 1964, just 1 year after Kennedy died as well. Many believe this was done to prevent Meyer from opening up about her affair. And as far as affairs go, this is just scratching the John F. Kennedy surface. If we do a part 2, I'll for sure add more to this list. Number 6, prankster. Whenever I see those prank couples on Instagram, I can't even watch it. I don't do pranks. I don't want to be scared in the comfort of my own home. No, thank you. So when we look back on a president who did some weird stuff, Lyndon B. Johnson needs the spotlight for a hot minute here. This is a halfway point, so we'll throw in a kind of fun one. The 36th president of the United States had this bit that he would do to all of his guests. It was pretty hilarious. Let me explain. He did this funny bit where he was driving around his ranch and then he would pretend to lose control of the steering, like he wouldn't be able to stop or slow down. The whole car would just power off, and he would purposely drive, unbeknownst to his guests, he would purposely drive into a lake just to test the character out of the people beside him, because his car was also a boat. It doubled down as a boat. He had one of those James Bond boat car things that you could just drive into lakes. That's also pretty annoying, because I just know if that was me, I would have for sure jumped right out of the car. See you later, gang. Good luck. I'm tucking and rolling before I'm drowning in a car with Lyndon B. Johnson. No, that's not how I'm going out. Number 5, giddy up. Calvin Coolidge, the 30th president of the United States, received a pretty sweet gift. It was actually meant as a joke, but this is amazing. I would definitely want this. It was the 1920s. Calvin loved riding horses, but the unfortunate part was that he was also allergic to them. I get it, man. I'm allergic to cats, but every chance I get, I can't help myself. I want to inhale the whole thing. It's so cute. I sneeze for hours after, but I'm like, you know what, it's worth it. I don't care if I can't breathe. But back to this gift, Calvin received a mechanical horse as a joke gift. But the joke went over his head. He loved this idea, as would I. Imagine having a mechanical horse bull riding thing in your dressing room. What a better way to wake up in the morning. The best part of waking up is not Folgers. It's that mechanical horse. Have you seen this thing? Get on. Just wake up and get bucked into your vanity every day. So loud. So many spilt things. Always picking things up every day, but worth it. Worth the fun. He would also wear a cowboy hat while he rode it too. So he was committed to the bit. He didn't just go on his pajamas. He was like, no, I gotta put on these boots and do a lot of this, a lot of dipping the hat. I can't even motivate myself to do at-home workouts. Meanwhile, this dude's getting whiplash in his closet. Number 4, throw hands. Roosevelt. The first president to win a Nobel Peace Prize loved to box. Sounds like a weird sentence. Yeah, that's actually how he went blind in one eye. It was a boxing injury. Again, this isn't weird per se, but imagine Biden doing a speech, then he just threw right hooks for 3 hours in a boxing ring. You'd be like, okay, that's a bit weird. I'm gonna ask some questions. Why is he so good at throwing hands? He's like 92. While he was president, his boxing days continued, but come 1908, he suffered from a detached retina. Did he quit boxing after this? Yes, of course. Did he also immediately move on to jiu-jitsu? Also, yes. It all began when Roosevelt was the governor of New York. He took up wrestling lessons from the middleweight champ at the time, which is pretty sweet. Imagine getting tapped out by Teddy Roosevelt. Number 3, card shark. 37th president of the United States, Richard Nixon, spent so much time playing cards and poker, and he was gambling during World War II that he actually got pretty good at it. Subsequently, he got pretty rich. The guy was like a James Bond villain at the table. He was so good. He earned a nickname after winning so many games in a row. They called him Tricky Dick. Nixon won so much money through gambling that he was actually able to later fund his campaign for the US House of Representatives in 1946. That's how he paid the bills. How sweet is that? Of course, at that point, he was playing cards with congressmen who were also like, oh, he's not that good. That's how you know they're sore losers. They're like, he's overrated. No, he just kept winning. He didn't lose any games, apparently. A US Navy officer reported that he never once saw him lose. I'm terrible at poker. I can't even keep a straight face, and also I don't know how to play poker, so there's that too. He once bluffed a lieutenant commander out of $1,500. That's pretty interesting, but at the same time, you're like, oh, our president's really good at lying and also loves to gamble? Interesting. Number 2, Saxman. Just like LimeWire told us those many years growing up, Bill Clinton did not have relations with that woman. Bill Clinton, the 42nd president of the United States, of course, is remembered for that Monica Lewinsky scandal, right? That was the whole thing. We remember that. That was weird and all, but did you know he can rip the saxophone? Yeah, I would get myself in an entanglement as well if I heard that in the next room. Are you kidding me? That music is like cinnamon to my ears. I want to just inhale that. We love a jazz sax, honestly. He was called the Elvis candidate at this point because it was definitely odd to just go and freestyle on the Arsenio Hall show days after winning the California primary, but you do you, honey. We're just watching. And finally, number 1, Cherry Jam. Turning the pages back to 1850, the 12th president of the United States, the guy I mentioned earlier, Zachary Taylor, the president nicknamed Old Rough and Ready, solid nickname. After only 16 months in office, he met his fate in a horribly strange way. It started out as a joyous 4th of July celebration in the Capitol, but things quickly went south. President Taylor was eating a large amount of cherries, and then he immediately chugged tons of milk. Don't do this. If you want to do this for some reason, if you're like, oh, I'm really craving that cherry milk combo as soon as I get home, don't do it. The acids, it'll just mess your shit up. This list has a good amount of silly stuff. I'm not saying this man's death is silly by any means. Historians are still trying to figure this one out, hence the weird aspect. Many believe he died due to gastroenteritis, which happens when you consume highly acidic foods such as cherries, then mix it with milk. So for days, Taylor experienced cramping, nausea, dehydration, just horrible stuff. His personal physician thought that he had a bacterial infection in his small intestine. Foul play is also brought up a lot here, but this cherry milk combo is just too fishy. What do you think? Comment down below. Thank you so much for joining us on Bumblebee. I've been your host, Taylor McWatters. If you want a part 2, hit that thumbs up, comment down below. Don't eat cherries and chug milk. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace. Don't inhale cinnamon. That's always a good name. Anything with dick in there, you're like, that's OG. Yeah, it's pretty good. Tricky Dick. Yeah, that's right.